changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your daily dose of Chicken Soup for the Soul inspiration to make you simply happy. Today, I want to talk about a couple of very cool stories about what happens when a kid discovers that her mother has been quietly making sacrifices for her without anyone knowing. Both stories are from a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul for Mom with Love. In the first story, Judith Fitzsimmons tells us that she grew up on the other side of the tracks in a very affluent town. While her classmates were flying to Vail to go skiing, Judith and her siblings would get cafeteria trays to use as sleds on the local golf courses. Judith lived in this beautiful community, but she was not able to do all the things that her more affluent classmates could. The stuff that the town provided for free was available, but there were some things that everyone else did that cost money that Judith's family didn't have, including dance lessons. All the other kids were taking ballroom dancing lessons. Her mom tried to teach the kids how to do ballroom dancing, but that didn't work. And then one evening after dinner, Judith and her siblings were surprised to discover that their mom wanted them to put on their good clothing. She was taking them to the ballroom dancing class that the other kids went to. The kids were excited. This was something their classmates took for granted, something that was essential to the social scene for the kids in their town. And now Judith and her siblings were part of it. Their mom would sit in the car reading a book while the kids were inside taking the lessons. Then she'd drive them home, clean up the house, make their lunches for the next day, fold laundry, and review their homework. And then, as they were going to bed, she'd announce that she was going out for a little while and she'd see them in the morning. This routine went on for weeks, until one evening, Judith realized that she had left her sneakers at the dance studio. Since she had gym the next day at school, she had to go back to get her sneakers. Her father reluctantly drove her back to the studio. And then, just as she was about to knock on the door, she saw her mother through the window, on her hands and knees, shining the hardwood floor. Judith was devastated. She banged on the door, and her mother approached with a huge smile on her face and said not to worry about anything and that she had been planning to bring her sneakers home to her. Her mom told her that she thought it was a great trade. She cleaned the floors, and her kids got to take the dance lessons. She told Judith not to let this diminish her joy in taking those lessons or in dancing. And Judith says it never has. I'd venture to guess that dancing means even more to her now, given her mother's quiet sacrifice. Victoria Fedden tells us the same thing in her story, which is called The Good Parts. She says that when she was growing up, she noticed that her mother always ate the most disgusting things: dry crusts from Victoria's sandwiches, burnt toast, the dark meat from chicken, the stems from broccoli, broken chips at the bottom of the bag. Her mother didn't dress nicely either. She never got herself a decent-looking pair of sneakers, and her sweatpants were all faded. Victoria didn't understand why her mother dressed so badly. After all, Victoria always tried to look nice, wearing cute new outfits. She just hoped her mother wouldn't show up at school wearing some of those old, gross clothes. Then, one morning, way more recently, Victoria finally got it. She was eating the leftover portions of her daughter's breakfast. And then she took her daughter shopping to get new shoes for a wedding they were attending that weekend. New shoes for her daughter, but not for herself. She would wear her old ones. She bought her daughter a new dress, too, but not one for herself. When they got home, they ate lunch, and they discovered there were only 2 graham crackers left in the box. Victoria decided that she no longer loved graham crackers as much as she had when she was a kid, and she handed the 2 crackers over to her daughter. And then she thought about what a coincidence it was that her mother had said the same thing when she was a little kid and they ran out of graham crackers one time. And then she realized, oh, I've turned into my mother, but in the best possible way. Victoria says, when you're a parent, you don't mind giving up the good parts. I don't need a bunch of new stuff because I have all I need. I have my daughter and her happiness, and I have a mother who I finally appreciate, a mother who once gave me all the good parts and hoped that one day I'd grow up to be that kind of parent too. Thanks for listening to the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast today. Tomorrow is Tip Tuesday, and we're going to talk about some mothers who really make a lot of sacrifices, military wives, and their children, those kids who move all around the world with their military parents, and how they grow up to be resilient, independent, and very well informed about the rest of the world. I'm Amy Newmark. If you'd like to read more stories from Chicken Soup for the Soul for Mom with Love, or give it as a Mother's Day gift, it's being featured at Rite Aid right now, and it's also available wherever books are sold.